What's going on, guys? On today's episode, we are going to be installing the Milld Mantis Kit on my C6 Corvette, along with a couple other new parts. We have our lockout plates. These get rid of the eccentric camber bolts that are on your Corvette, and locks those out. Also, another new thing that we're going to be installing is this full tie rod setup. We just did an assembly video on basically building it from using the OEM stuff as a reference, so we can link that or we can add it into this video or whatever. But yeah, we're going to be throwing these parts on. But first, I've already installed the Milld Mantis Kit on the passenger side, and I've left the Mini Mantis Kit on the driver's side. And we're going to put the car down and we're going to do a lock-to-lock comparison where we can measure and put tape on the floor and see what our angle differences are. From a design standpoint, I know that I was able to, because we're cutting half the knuckle off, I was able to increase the steering ratio by like 5% by moving the tie rod inward just a little bit. So theoretically, we should be able to get just a hair more steering angle than the Mini Kit, as well as this kit is Ackerman adjustable. So we'll be able to compare that when we get the car on the ground and we go lock to lock, and then I'll show you guys the installation process of this kit versus the Mini. All right.
So this one's the mild side?
Yeah. So the tire will rub it, so we'll have to put it like this, and then we'll have to cut the tape. Just cranked it the other way. I had to help it just a little bit because the car's on the ground, it's not running, there's no power steering. But with the Milld Mantis on this side, the wheel just contacted the upper control arm on the back, which that never happened with the Mini Kit. So I'm gonna say that the Mini Kit was probably right there. It was just about touching, I bet. And now with that extra 5%, now it's touching the upper. So the solution, there's no wheel spacers on this or anything. So I can definitely add a 1/4 inch or 6mm, 8mm, 10mm, whatever, wheel spacer onto this, space it out a little bit, give us a little more clearance on the upper and fix that. But this is a ton of angle for a lead wheel on a Corvette. I'll put the tape on the ground, we'll lift the car back up, and then we'll do our measurement comparison. We've got 55 on the trail, 55 on the lead. And then we've got the Mini. We've got 52 on the trail wheel. It looks like exactly 50 on the lead. So just the slightest amount of negative Ackerman, which right now, without an alignment, we could have been slightly towed in, because the Mini Kit I know is 0. So if we're slightly towed in, I didn't do a toe plate alignment, I just eyeballed it. So we're probably, that's your difference right there, it is maybe 2 degrees, which is like 1 degree each side, which is very minimal. So right now, I mean, we have the Milld Kit on the 0, we have the Mini Kit, which is 0. The Mini Kit's showing about 3 degrees less with the same amount of steering rack travel. Putting that into the computer, that would be pretty much almost exactly a 5% increase. So that being said, the angle potential of these kits is not limited to what I just read, which was 55 degrees on the Milld Kit side. The limitation for this car is that the wheel contacted the upper control arm. So if you, like I said, put wheel spacers on, you're gonna get more angle. But what this is telling us is that with no wheel spacers, these are 18x9s plus 15, you can get 55 degrees of angle with a very modest mod. And I've drifted this car lots of times. It is plenty of angle. So, with all that said, The potential of these kits is probably 60 to 65 if you're running wheel spacers. You clearanced out a couple things, that's probably, which is right obviously where I knew it was. We're just comparing the two, and it's falling right into where I thought it would, just based off of what I did on the computer. So anyways, some little data for you. Let's continue with the install. Slow-mo.
I'm not in slow-mo.
This has to be cut off pretty much right through this first hole, which on the front, these holes do nothing. On the back, they hold the parking brake. So on the front, they don't do anything. So I just take this over to the bandsaw, slice it right down there, and that's it. If you're at home, you could use a Sawzall. It'll take you a while. Or you could use a zip cut, which will be super loud and pretty dangerous. So make sure you wear all your safety gear, because anything other than a bandsaw is kind of a pain, but you can get it done. But we're also checking like the ball joints and stuff. This side, the inner tie rod ball joint is completely gone. I'm surprised I couldn't feel it actually, but totally shot. We're gonna fix that with our new tie rod setup. Yeah, let's head over to the bandsaw. And now we're in a predicament.
Right there.
You know what they say, when you're about to lose it, get a piece of wood.
Yeah, that is what they say. Are you good, man?
Use it or lose it. Why are you getting the weakest guy to squat it? Oh my goodness.
That's solid. 3.5 inches of pure
Steel.
Where's the
Iron.
chalk? No chalk.
You need the chalk.
It's already on the box. There's anti-seize on it. Light. Back blowing out.
Hey?
Did you tighten this yet? This not being tight drives me up the wall.
I didn't.
Why?
Because it needs to be tight.
It's variable angle.
I know.
Have you seen this?
Oh yeah, did you see the shovel I made?
No.
He doesn't care. I made it for you.
And
I made this for you.
I made this for you! It was repurposed. What did we make it out of?
Hot Kool-Aid.
No!
I made a pot of Kool-Aid.
The OGs will know the rest.
You got the shot of us cutting the knuckle?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're over here cutting the knuckle. This is by far the easiest way to do it. That's it. Just a quick shot.
Just an update.
Walk with me. It's too loud over there. The other thing we have to do is grind this little bit of material here, because the Milld Mantis Kit sits flat on these surfaces. So we'll just take the grinder to this little chunk, and then that's it. That's all we got to do. To keep the same spacing, we're going to put the shim back on the bearing. I'm going to slide the Milld Mantis Kit over the knuckle. You can see right where that hole was, this plate kind of sits like right in the pocket, so you need to cut right through that hole. And then take this. We will torque those once we get it on the car. It's a little easier to get a wrench on it when it's in the car. So that is essentially it. All of our hardware and tie rod and Ackerman plates can go on easily. once it's on the car, but this is now essentially your new knuckle. This now becomes part of the knuckle, so easy as that. But while this is off, that's when I'm gonna do a couple other things. We're shimming the upper control arms, we're lengthening the lower control arms, we're changing the motion ratio on the shock, so we're moving that one hole inward. So we're doing a couple things, and all that will be easier to do with this off. So back to the time lapse where we do a bunch of that kind of redundant stuff that you've seen before if you've watched our other videos, especially when we installed the lowers the first time. So. Okay, so now we are spacing out the upper control arm with these shims. We water jet cut them out of 1/4 inch thick aluminum. So paired together, we're going to space the upper out 1/2 inch. Really easy to install. From factory, they come with these washers that go in behind, so I'm just gonna remove those, put the bolts back in, and then the shims can just be slid in from the top. You don't actually have to take the upper control arm completely off. The only reason I'm going to is to get rid of these washers. There's number one. So if you just want a slight change in your camber, you can add one. We're gonna add both of them. Might need to back these out all the way. All right, so we've now moved our upper control arm out because we're trying to widen our track width. I need to extend the lower control arms, and I'm also going to move this shock mount inward one hole. This is going to change the motion ratio, but more importantly, for the purpose of the angle kit, it's going to move the shock further away from the knuckle, which will give it more clearance, specifically on the brake caliper. The brake caliper gets really close to the shock mount, so we can just move it back, and then we can start putting everything back together, get that new tie rod set up on, and do our toe plate alignment and send it.
Day 2.
Well, we stopped filming on Friday and now it's Monday, so we had 2 days off. Don't know where I left off, but I was working yesterday and I did a couple things. We did a catalytic converter delete, which we needed to do, and I also modified the sway bar to clear some angle because I still wanted to run a front sway bar. Should have filmed it, but we didn't. But now we just need to put the knuckle on, which you guys saw up to this point. So we basically just need to reinstall this, throw on the tie rod setup that I showed you guys how to build, and that's it. And then I'm pretty sure we threw in the shims on the upper control arms. Did we film that?
Yeah.
Oh. The rest of it's easy. Throw that on, tie rod setup. This is assembled with 2 stainless steel spacers, which allows the heim joint to be adapted. So we'll put this to the side for now, and we're gonna take our rack bolt and adapter. And we got a problem. Houston, we have a problem. The bolt that we use for the BMWs is the same thread pitch, but the rack doesn't have a deep enough thread to use this, so we actually have to trim this down about 3 threads. You can kind of see that here, but on the passenger side it actually had enough threads, so we need to make it a bit shorter. Not a problem, we'll take her over to the lathe. While I'm over there, this is the factory rack limiter that the Corvettes come with. I'm putting this back on because I prefer to, for this car anyways, I'm not looking for the most angle possible. So I'm gonna try and preserve the rack, keep it as long lasting as possible. So I'm just gonna machine this shoulder down to about there, which I did on the passenger side, just so I can maintain that limiting distance. And it's Delrin, so it's a nice, it's a bit of a cushion stop as well. So we'll do both of these over at the lathe. So that's perfect. Perfect length. That's gonna go there. Okay, so now to remove the inner tie rod, it's as easy as pulling this bolt. Take this, we slide it in there. And there you have a full lime joint style inner tie rod. I need another one of these. I'll be right back. And we're back. First things first, let's get the Ackerman plates installed. This is our tie rod bolt. This goes on, gotta put the spacers on. That. This fits in the slot. And this goes through the bottom. Through the spacers, through the Ackerman plate, back through the top of the bracket. I tried to do the best I could, giving us lots of access for fingers to get in there and tighten things like this. All right, we're gonna throw the wheel on, make sure the wheel stays straight, do a toe plate alignment, and that concludes the install of the Milld Mantis Kit. And that's a wrap for the Milld Mantis Kit. We achieved what we wanted to do, widen the track width a little bit so our fitment's more flush. We did the rear upper control arms, the Milld Mantis Kit. We made a high clearance sway bar. And effectively we're able to get a couple more degrees over the mini kit. Although the angle is not the goal of this car is basically a product development test car. So yeah, we're gonna make sure that we put every product that we make on the car. That's how the best products are made. So we'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget that at 10,000 subscribers, we are giving away a big prize on our website. So we need you guys to help us out with that. Yeah, that's it.